This week's edition of Church Media Design TV is sponsored by DansInkandToner.com, ink and toner, and a whole lot more. Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV, tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the church media designer. I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and I'm joined every week by my faithful friends. It's the three wise men in Jesus. We have Little Whitey, Dwight Schrute, Colonel Sanders, and of course, Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Well, we're here every week sharing with you guys how to use media to effectively increase God's kingdom. We want to use the media that surrounds us every day to share the story of Christ, and we want to do it effectively, so we don't want to waste time using deprecated, I can use that word, ways of doing things. We want to use current things to help share the story of Christ. So this week we're going to be continuing talking about Google Apps and getting that up and running for your church to help organize your team and how to use that to share documents and calendars and the whole nine yards. So that's what we're talking about this week. We got a whole lot of other stuff in store, as well as some great inspiration and some resources and some free stuff. So if the three wise men of Jesus are ready, let's get into it. Well, let's grab you guys some resources from the stockpile, and the first one is from Web Resources Depot, and they just had a post that I thought was pretty cool. It's a free flash video component for streaming FOV files easily, and it's totally skinnable, and it's free to use on personal websites and requires a license for commercial ones. It's skinnable, it has full screen option, looks pretty clean and nice, and it's called the JC Player. You can find that at jcplayer.com. We'll just flip over there real quick. The ultimate flash video player, JC Player. So it looks pretty nice, and they're playing copyrighted movies on it, so that's always fun. Next is truthcasting.com. Truthcasting.com is a site to put podcast feeds and video cast feeds, and it's totally free to use. So I just got an email reminder from these guys the other day about their site. It's pretty interesting. It's actually all done in Flash. So it's kind of interesting in that light, but it's pretty cool. You can get a player that you can embed and you get your own channel and all this kind of stuff. So it's really interesting. So check out truthcasting.com. And then last but not least, found out about this via a new show I've been watching lately, Film Riot. And they talked about detonationfilms.com. Now, Detonation Films has free stock footage. Also, it has some tips and tutorials, but the biggest thing is you can get free explosions and free different elements that you can use in your video. So check out detonationfilms.com, truthcasting.com, and jcplayer.com. This week we're going to continue to talk about Google Apps and how it can be helpful or not helpful to your church. And one thing I want to full disclosure with you guys, I have run into a lot of problems when doing this tutorial. I didn't run into as many problems when I was setting it up normally and going through the steps calmly and sitting at my desk and all that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of it is just me trying to do it too fast and not having prepared enough for the show. But after a little bit of preparation just now, I think we're good to go to be able to walk you through some of these steps, and I'll be able to show you what I did wrong along the way. Now this week I'm going to talk to you about getting your mail set up, and I'm actually going to be using an account from our church's domain just because the mail's already running on that one. Again, like I said last week, what you need to do is you need to go in and set up all of your accounts. And one of the first things you're going to want to do is look at and say, okay, is everybody using this account normally, or do we have forwarder accounts? And if you had forwarder accounts before, you need to do this a little bit differently. And I'll show you how you're going to do this. Let's go log into, let's go to google.com/a/ChurchMediaDesign.tv. We're just going to log into our test account here, and I'll show you real quickly how you set up a forwarder, because this is kind of the first thing that you're going to want to make sure you got under control. So you can see in here inside the admin panel for Google Docs or Google Apps, there is no like forward to an outside domain type thing. You could do it via a group, but it'd be really messy, and this way just works a lot better. So what we're going to do is go to settings. So you're going to just basically create your account. So you'll just create, you know, whatever, part-time person, and that part-time person, you'll go in and you have forwarding and POP and IMAP, and you can forward a copy of incoming mail to an external email address, and then you have a couple different options here. You can keep a copy in the inbox, you can archive a copy, or you can delete a copy. You also can do this via a filter. So if we would go in here and create a filter, we can say anything to test at ChurchMediaDesign.tv. Any email that comes to that address, we can skip the inbox and apply it to some label, follow-up or priority, or we could mark it as read, or we could delete it, but we can forward it to an email address, and we can also delete it or never send it to spam or do all sorts of weird stuff. So we can go back and not do that. So that's how you set up a forwarder. So there's your first tip of the day on setting up forwarding email addresses. It's a little weird. I had to search to find the answer on that one, because I'm like, hey, I got people who don't want to use Outlook, or they don't want to use Gmail to check stuff. They just want to use their home Charter or Comcast or Cox Cable or whatever account to check their email. So that's how you set up a forwarder. So the next thing that we're going to do is show you how to pull Outlook and put it into Gmail. So with our secretary or administrative assistant, we went through and switched her totally over to Gmail. That way she can check it at home. And so I need to take all of her old Outlook stuff and bring that into Gmail. There's a couple different ways you can do this. The first one is Google's email uploader. This allows you to upload a file from Microsoft Outlook to to Gmail. Now this only works for Google Apps, which we're using. It doesn't work for normal Gmail accounts. But the problem here is it only works on XP and Vista, so there is no solution for OS X for this. Now this is the easiest and fastest solution, and it imports all your folder structure. It applies a star to every flag you had. So if you flagged an email inside Outlook, it will star that in Gmail. If it was in a folder, it'll make a new label and stick all those emails inside there. So it works very similarly. And it will pull everything in appropriately. But maybe you don't have that that opportunity. So I found this article from How To Geek on how to use Gmail IMAP in Microsoft 2007 to archive your emails. So what I'm going to do is just kind of show you how to do this. So basically, inside our we'll just go in here and show you how you would. I'm not going to use this account. You would go to forwarding POP IMAP and you would enable IMAP. So you'll enable that, and then there's actually a link to configuration instructions, and I would highly recommend using this because there's some weird settings that you need to do in Outlook 2003 or 2007. So what I've done is I have pulled up an old Microsoft Outlook installation with some old emails in here, and I went to accounts or tools, and I went to email accounts, and I added a new email account. And I'll show you what I did here. Here's we'll change this one. I just went in and added my normal information. imap.gmail.com and smtp.gmail.com were my servers. I chose an IMAP account, not a POP3 account. And the difference between IMAP and POP3 is IMAP is a two-way conversation, POP3 is a one-way. So IMAP, your emails get received everywhere. So I can go check it in Gmail, I can check it on my phone, I can check it in Outlook, and if I check it on my phone, it will mark that it was read on my Outlook account. So it's being archived everywhere, not just on one device. And then I just put in my username and password, and then I went to more settings. This is where it gets a little interesting. You need to say that my outgoing server requires authentication and use your same as your incoming. And then you go to the Advanced tab, and this is where you have to put in some custom settings. So both of them require SSL encryption, and then they use some different ports, and each version of Outlook 2003 and Outlook 2007 use different port addresses. So you need to know what those are and insert those. So I've done that, and what it did is it took, here's all my normal folders and normal accounts, and now it's added in this imap.gmail account, and here's my inbox here. And now the cool thing is, inside here you can see here's an email, and I've just marked it as read. If I go over to this guy here, and you'll see that it automatically marked that as read. If I would read this account here, email here, and come back here, you can see if I do send and receive, it'll sync those up, and it should show that this was read here in just a second. Anyway, so that's how that works. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to take some emails and we're going to bring them over to this account here. So we're going to add in, we're going to bring over a folder here. So I'm just going to take this NWA folder and we're just going to grab a couple random Northwest emails that I had, and we're just going to bring those over to our inbox. And what you're seeing it do right now is it is working and bringing those in. If we go back over to our inbox, you'll see that I have a Northwest email here. If I refresh this again, I should have 2 different Northwest ones. You got to wait a little bit of time because it's transferring and all of that stuff, but now it's backing that up. Now I also can take a folder and drop this entire folder in, and you'll see slowly all of these emails start to disappear out of here, and it's moving these folders from NWA to imap.gmail.com. And now if I go back over to Gmail and I refresh this page, what we should see happen is we have a new folder or a new label right here called NWA, and inside there are all of my NWA emails. So it takes a little bit of time depending on how big your inbox is to transfer some of this stuff over. So, you know, here's a bunch of different crazy Twitter, you know, things and messages and all that kind of stuff that we can switch over, and all you would do is drag and drop all these folders. So like Netflix. So we'll just take Netflix, drop this over, and if we refresh the page, we'll immediately see a Netflix folder show up, and we'll start to see this get populated with all of the different emails that I've received to that. So that's a really easy way of backing up all of your email, or taking all your email from Outlook and bringing it over to your Google Apps. And then it's a two-way conversation. You can still use both, or I can say to my administrative assistant, hey, you can still use Outlook, but it'll be online for you to use as well, and it's just going to check at both places and you're good to go. So I would highly recommend, again, looking through this supported IMAP client list and seeing how to do it. You can also check other, and you can see how to do it with other clients as well. So those are some different things there. Now, as far as some things I've run into that are kind of annoying, I was used to Outlook, and so when I got a new email, it dinged and showed up in my over by my clock and said, hey, you have a new email. Well, that's where the Gmail notifier comes into play. And there's actually a Gmail notifier for Mac and PC, and it automatically is checking your account and will tell you when you have a new email. So I'm going to go in here. I have this running in the background, and you can see here that this is my regular Gmail account that you can adjust. Whoops. So we'll do options. Weird. And you can tell Gmail to open up mail to links with Gmail. Also, we can, man, that's just going crazy. We're not even going to worry about that. So you can use that. I was just going to show you how you could change accounts, but it's being all crazy because of my screen capture software. So that's one thing. Next is Gmail offline. So inside of our account here, we can go to settings. Inside settings, you'll see labs. And in here, you'll see Gmail offline. And once you enable this, you'll have to add in Google Gears to your browser, and that will allow Gmail to save all of your data offline to your computer, so you have a hard copy, so that you can pull up your browser and look through all of your old email and not have to have an internet connection. So this works really well for people who are like, well, but I like to have an Outlook because I could always see my email even if I didn't have an internet connection, and I don't have a smartphone and all of that stuff. So they have Gmail offline, and the offline team worked on it and got it working, and it's a beautiful thing. So that's another thing that you can add in. And then before I just showed you how to do filters, I find filters very useful to be able to filter out emails and prioritize stuff. One thing to note though is if I go to, if I would say I'm going to filter this email from Adam, so I'm going to do more actions and I'll filter messages like this. If I go in here and say anything from Adam at dot and cross, or Adam at andcross.com, if I would go in here and say apply the label of, and I made a new label of Adam, okay, I hit OK. I can do that, and what will happen is I'll create this filter, and I'll also apply and hit create filter, and we'll go into our inbox, and we'll see that there's an Adam folder here that has those emails in it, but the inbox also has those emails in it, and I want those just to move to a folder and not ever even see them in the inbox, because the inbox is my random emails, not my emails that I'm planning on getting. And so what you actually need to do is go to settings, go to your filters, and we're going to edit this filter to say skip the inbox and archive it and apply that label. So we're going to apply that and update the filter. So now when we go back to our inbox, you'll see those are gone, and now they're just in this folder. This does present a problem if you have an iPhone and you go to check it on there, you go to check the inbox and nothing shows up. But luckily under here there is a, there should be an area called All Mail. And in All Mail, it shows everything. So if you're on your phone, what I usually do is I just check my All Mail area, and that shows me everything, because if you just check your inbox, if I get an email from Adam, it's not going to check and find that. So those are a couple tips. The biggest things is IMAP is a great thing. Forget about using POP3. It's a waste of time. IMAP is so much nicer because people can check it everywhere. Overall, there's a few glitches here and there, but I would highly recommend looking into switching over to this. The fact that you can share calendars and documents, and everyone's using a uniform email client to do things, makes it a lot easier on you, the person who's checking everybody's computers. So those are my few tips. I would encourage you guys to check it out. Head over to google.com/a and sign up for education account, and then tell them it's a nonprofit and provide your information, and you'll be good to go. So check that out, and we got a whole lot coming up next. This week's inspiration comes to you from a new design studio that I found via looking for videos for my morning motion graphics inspiration, and it's skilllab.net. We are a creative multimedia studio in our own laboratory. Each member has its own skill. Together we produce the best quality possible. And I think they're actually in like Luxembourg or someplace, but they have a lot of great stuff, and the video that I'm going to show you today is called Air Guitar Hero. It's for Lux TV or Luxembourg.tv. I can't remember the name for that, but it's a really cool video. It's mostly After Effects with some fake 3D, and I really liked it. It was really simple how it was done, but very effective and cool. So check out Air Guitar Heroes. This week's freebie is another series background or series graphic that you can use. This one's called Get in the Boat, and it was a week that we did on, like, instead of getting out of the boat, get in the boat with Christ and jump on his team and get inside. And so I'll put up the scripture references to that, as well as the graphic that you can alter in a PSD, as well as just some still graphics. So this is another graphic that you can use for different series and that kind of stuff for your church, and maybe be a little less work. Maybe you want to just change it to, say, Jonah, or I don't know, something else. So whatever. So check that out at the website. You can download that, and I'll have stills in widescreen and in full screen, and then a widescreen PSD file that you guys can edit. So check that out and download it today. We wanted to say thank you to one of our sponsors, which is DanZinkandToner.com. Now, Dan Zink and Toner has been a longtime sponsor and longtime fan of the show, and he wants to help you guys out in saving money in your church. And you can do that by signing up for the wholesale program, or a full-service leasing program, or even just a straight-up, you can buy or lease. You can just do a full-service program where you buy outright a printer, and you're going to save a lot of money in all of these things. And the best way to find out how to save money for your church is just to get in touch with Dan. And so you can do that by heading over to DanZinkandToner.com, and you can click to sign up for the store, or you can give Dan a call here at this 1-800 number, or you can email him, Dan@DanZinkandToner.com. So check out those two things. Give Dan a call, and he'll get back to you and let you know what's the best thing for your church, and you can talk about what you guys need, and you're going to save a lot of money. So instead of wasting money, how about you save some money and spend it on things that you actually would like to spend money on, like microphones, or graphics, or videos, or CMD t-shirts. I don't know, just some ideas for you. So check out DanZinkandToner.com. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Church Media Design TV. We've had a very interesting day here taping the last two episodes. They've been a little problemsome, but hopefully you guys learned a little bit about Google Docs and how it can work, or Google Apps. I keep calling it Google Docs. Google Apps, and how it can work for your church. I think it's a good thing that you guys should check into, and I wanted to let you guys know more about my journey with it, but trying to do it on the fly and teach it on the show sometimes presents its problems. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Brad at ChurchMediaDesign.tv. I would love to answer those, as well as you can hit me up on Twitter at CMDTV, and leave a comment on the website. If you want to get in touch with Adam and talk to him about editing the show or shooting footage, or what he's up to at www.andcross.com, you can email him, Adam at ChurchMediaDesign.tv, or at AdamCMDTV. So we just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning in. Tell a friend about the show. Let others know about what's going on, and encourage the community around you to use whatever tools they have to help people share the story of Christ, because that's what it's all about. It's not about using Google versus not Google, or After Effects versus Flash, or whatever. It's about using the tools to help share the story of Christ. So, and if you haven't heard it lately, thank you for what you do. I know you don't hear it enough, and you're underappreciated, especially in the fall when things are going crazy, but I wanted to say thank you to what you guys do in your local church, helping to share that story in the mediums of media and sound and video and all of that stuff. So thank you guys so much. So as for me and the three wise men and Jesus, we're saying see you next week.